we know that physical activity helps us become healthier, helps us maintain a healthy lifestyle or healthy body. But if our goal for doing that is that we want to lose weight or we want to have better numbers when we have our health check regularly, or we know that we want to be healthy in the future, that's not particularly motivating. But if you think about my why is I want to feel better right now, that can be very motivating.
Winter, because of its shorter days and colder temperatures, can be a challenging time to be physically active. However, if we can identify our why for wanting to be physically active, have a plan for being outdoors, and identify ways to be active when we're stuck indoors, we can still enjoy the benefits that come from being physically active. On today's Sound Living, finding your goal for being physically active. Sound Living is a weekly public affairs program produced by Research and Extension at Kansas State University. I'm Jeff Wichman. K-State Research and Extension Family and Consumer Sciences Specialist and Coordinator of the Walk Kansas program, Sharolyn Jackson, says we need to find the type of physical activity that works for us. Then we can use that as a coping strategy to release stress and get energized. Sharolyn, we're at that time of year where we're thinking about what do we do when it gets cold outside in terms of physical activity, and then we're also thinking New Year's resolutions and how can I work all of this in. We're also still dealing with COVID-19 and some of the effects that that's had. So I guess first off, maybe just why is physical activity important? Why do we need it?
Well, Jeff, for years and years, we've seen all of the research that supports the need for physical activity, and it's one of the most important things we can do to have the best health possible and to maintain that healthy lifestyle. And it's challenging for a lot of people at any time of the year, but particularly during winter months, because if you like to do things outdoors, it can be more challenging. Although in Kansas, you just never know what you're going to get. It seems like we've had some pretty good weather lately that you can still be active outdoors well into the start of winter. That might not always be the case, though. So I'd like to just talk today about what are some ways to be successful in planning ahead for winter months, but also just how to be successful with an active lifestyle in general.
I mentioned COVID-19, and there have been some changes because of that.
There have, and, it varies for each person. And just like a key to finding a way to maintain an active lifestyle is finding what works best for you, COVID-19 impacted people in different ways. For some people, it really allowed them the opportunity to be more active. And if they were working from home and had more flexibility in their schedule, could take activity breaks or walks throughout the day or get out or to just do something active a little bit more often, that was great. And for other people, it really sent them into a tailspin in the other direction where they either maybe just weren't feeling like being active, or maybe their situation didn't allow them to be. So it really varies. But again, a lot about maintaining an active lifestyle is finding what works for you.
And some of that may have been because they're used to working with a partner or someone who keeps them accountable, and that was hard to do during COVID.
It sure was. And if you're relying on going to a gym for activity, a lot of them were closed, and so you didn't have that opportunity. And I think it disrupted people's routines. It either disrupted them or it allowed them to establish one when they'd never really been able to do that before.
When we talk about finding things that kind of fit what we like to do, how do we do that? Is that through experimentation?
Basically, yes, it is. It's trying new things and finding out what you enjoy, what works for you. And those things change over our lifetime based on, as we get older, we have some limitations, things that we really enjoyed doing before. Maybe we can't do anymore to the extent that we did, but there are a lot of new activities that could be tried and finding something that's enjoyable. And that really leads us to the need to find out what is your why for physical activity. And I think the why is really what is your goal? And we know that physical activity helps us become healthier, helps us maintain a healthy lifestyle or healthy body. But if our goal for doing that is that we want to lose weight or we want to have better numbers when we have our health check regularly, or we know that we want to be healthy in the future, that's not particularly motivating. But if you think about my why is I want to feel better right now, that can be very motivating. And what we do know about physical activity is that you do feel better right away. That's the one immediate benefit of physical activity is that you feel better. And so that's probably where you need to focus and not so much focusing on where you're going to be down the road.
And we feel better physically, mentally, emotionally, really.
Exactly. All of those things. And to think about that and have enough experience with it being true for you that becomes your natural tendency to want to, when you're struggling, let's say, with focusing at work, or you're feeling really tired, rather than going and taking a nap, that you take a break and you go for a walk or you do something physically active, and then you train your mind to realize that's your coping strategy. That's what's really helpful and really motivating.
There are guidelines that we're supposed to follow, but I think what I'm hearing you saying is just find something that works and do it as often as you can.
Yeah, to think about it as a gift and not a chore. Think about physical activity as a gift that you give yourself, not something that you have to do. And that really changes your mindset. And also to allow yourself to realize that physical activity doesn't mean you have to be somewhere in a gym sweating on a treadmill or a stationary bike. That's not the image we want you to have of physical activity. Yes, that's great if that's what you enjoy, and some people do, but a lot of people don't. And so there are lots of different things that can work for you, and finding that is the key to making it stick and to having that active lifestyle.
So this could be something as simple as taking a 15-minute walk maybe once or twice a day. It could be bicycling. It can be doing things around the house. Like you say, find what works for you.
Right. And it could be family group activities, playing some games, outdoors that are active, or joining a group that plays basketball for fun, or volleyball, or some kind of group activity like that. It could be going to an indoor swimming pool and just walking in the water, just something that can help you get some exercise, but also rejuvenate you in all of those ways we talked about before, mentally, emotionally, and so forth. So it's finding that activity and, again, planning ahead so that you have some time in your schedule that you can fit that in. Maybe it's just 10 or 15-minute little segments of time, or even 5 minutes can be helpful, but also then longer periods of time a couple times during the week.
So trying to work this into your everyday schedule. So it could be parking a long ways away at the grocery store, getting in a few extra steps that way, or like you say, maybe finding an opportunity to take a break at work.
Exactly, and it helps you be more productive at work if you can take those breaks, and helps you focus better. Oftentimes that period in the afternoon after you've had lunch and so forth and feel a little like they're dragging, that's a great time to take a walk. Use those breaks throughout your day, like a break in the morning, your lunch break, and your afternoon break, or if you're working in the evenings when you get a chance, just to be doing something active rather than picking up your phone and checking social media. Go out and get some activity.
One of the things that I'm noticing as I get older and older is my balance doesn't seem to be quite what it was. So I probably need to be thinking not only just aerobically, what am I doing to get my heart pumping, but maybe my strength and my balance comes into play at some point too?
It does. And as you get older, there are those things that become more challenging, and maybe some particular exercises that can help with that. In terms of balance, just simple things like if you're standing in line in the grocery store, stand on one leg. If you've got a grocery cart in front of you, you can use that as a way to stabilize yourself. But just simple things like that to challenge yourself, challenge your balance. There are specific balance activities that can be done. And to be mindful of where you're walking, to not be doing exercise walking on an unstable surface. So like a sidewalk that has lots of irregular surfaces and it's not smooth, that's maybe not a good place to do aerobic walking.
It's nice if you can find a trail that has a little bit of undulation to it so that you're maybe not always walking on a perfectly flat surface, because that works some different muscles if you're going up or down a hill.
It does. And you can do that even if you're on a flat surface by what we call intervals or little bursts of activity. And those can be really effective in improving your physical fitness. So let's say you're out on that flat surface and you're taking a leisurely stroll, then for about even 30 seconds to maybe 2 minutes, walk as fast as you can, and then go back down to walking at your leisurely pace again. That's going to help you gain fitness a lot more quickly.
You mentioned the planning ahead, and that may come into play as the days get shorter and shorter. We need to find things that maybe work better in the daylight hours if we're going to be outside.
Yes, definitely. As it gets dark, if you're going to be out in the evenings, to wear some reflective clothing so that you can be seen. Also, you need to plan ahead for the weather, because if it is colder, you'll want to layer up, dress appropriately, and the layer closest to your skin should be something that can wick away the moisture. So probably not cotton, because that tends to hold moisture. And then that outer layer, generally, if you can have something that protects from the wind or even moisture, that's really helpful. And then if you get too warm, you can take a layer or two off as you're exercising or getting your activity. And when you go back inside, don't remove those layers immediately. Give your body a chance to kind of adjust to the change of temperature. If you're not wet after you've done the activity, wait 10 to 15 minutes before you change into other clothes. That just gives your body a chance to acclimate.
What if you're doing the mall walking, for instance, and you've taken all the coats off? What about when you get ready to go back outside?
Well, you'd want to, again, just minimize that drastic change in temperature. So you probably want to cool down inside and then put on a layer before you go outside, just again so it's not a drastic change of temperature.
You want to make sure you've got your head covered as well when you're outside?
Your extremities, your hands and head and feet. It's always important to take precautions there. Keeping those extremities warm can really help just with your overall comfort, but also prevent you from having any problems being out in the cold.
And really, with that proper outerwear, you can walk in almost any conditions, with some exceptions. But by and large, you can make it through the winter pretty well being outside.
You sure can. And it's really helpful to be outdoors for a lot of reasons and to get some fresh air. One of the things you can do in the fall, winter months, too, is take a nature walk and stroll around neighborhoods or parks. And rather than just focusing on, I'm getting physical activity, think about what are the changes of colors during the seasons, the different sounds that you hear. Are there different birds that you hear or things that you see, different colors and sounds? And then that changes your focus to enjoying nature rather than I'm doing this so that I can be healthy, but it gives you a different sense of appreciation. It also gives you a lot more appreciation than being inside on a treadmill, too. So for some people, they do fine with the indoor treadmill, but for a lot of folks, just being able to be outside and enjoying all those sights and sounds whenever they can is really uplifting.
Extension also has a number of programs related to physical activity, and some of those have started up again, so those might be going on in your part of the state as well.
Yes, they might be. And to just highlight a few of those, we have Stay Strong, Stay Healthy, which is a strength training program targeted for older adults or middle age if they've been really sedentary, and it's a strengthening program, and it's an excellent program to participate in. We also have Walk with Ease, which is a fairly new program for Extension, and that is, again, aimed at people who are very sedentary and just wanting to start being more active, or people who have trouble with movement from arthritis or other kinds of conditions. Of course, our popular program is Walk Kansas, which is coming up starting March 20. We're having a new focus this year on healthy body, healthy mind, where we're going to be looking at how all the benefits of physical activity for your body and your mind, as well as nutritionally, looking at the Mind diet, which is really just a little different tweak between the Mediterranean eating style and the DASH diet for heart health. And so that's our plan for Walk Kansas that is really appropriate for just about anybody. It's pretty adaptive.
Well, I like the idea of finding what works for you and making sure that you're staying active during this cold weather, because there's no reason not to be, really.
No, and if you do need to be at home, then there are just some simple things, or need to be inside and want to get some extra steps. If you have stairs in your house, taking the stairs and walking up and down stairs a number of times can be really good exercise, can give you a little bit more intensity. Other things you can do is you're watching TV or working on your computer, keep some hand weights close by. You can take a little break during commercials and pick up some hand weights and use those. Or if you've got Zoom meetings or things, you can do some squats while you're participating in a Zoom meeting, just different things to be active, or just kind of marching in place. There's a lot of things that can be done, but to change that mindset of just sitting in your chair versus what can I do to be active right now? What is something I can do in my space?
And if you really want to entertain people, forget to turn the camera off and start doing that. Yeah. Ask them to join in.
I should probably say that's not appropriate for every single Zoom meeting that you have. So just use some good common sense.
That's Sharolyn Jackson, K-State Research and Extension Northeast Family and Consumer Sciences Specialist and State Coordinator of Walk Kansas. For more information on physical activity programs offered by Extension, visit ksre.ksu.edu/human nutrition or contact your local county or district extension office. Sound Living is a weekly public affairs program produced by Research and Extension at Kansas State University. I'm Jeff Wichman, and this is the K-State Radio Network.